Hello, everyone. Jerry Shockey here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm the Director of Education here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And what we thought we'd do was continue this series. We're doing about 5 or 6 of these. Some of our most popular programs we have here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame that we do through video conferencing technology where it's interactive, as well as what we do with students that come here on a field trip. So we thought we'd take these and really make them on demand, and just to make maybe a 15 or 20 minute little video that would be something that as teachers that you can play at any time. You can play them in the classroom, you could send them home with homework assignments, school kids have days off, snow days or something like that, or you want to assign something at home, you can do that. These will be available at our Pro Football Hall of Fame, our youth education YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch those and download those and stream those and be able to watch those. And so one of the most popular programs we offer is something called Movement and Motion. And so what I want to do is I'm going to just go ahead and share screen here, and you're going to see pop up here in just a second. And before we go into the movement and motion, what I want to do is just show you guys who we are and where we're at. So those of you that might be watching this from not only all over the country, but maybe all over the world, you can see the Pro Football Hall of Fame is in Northeast Ohio. It is in a city called Canton, Ohio. And we are the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I can kind of zoom in on our building. And you can see that there. And you can see Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium next to us where the Hall of Fame game is played. There. And so as we go into our Prezi today, we're going to talk about movement and motion. We're going to talk about science and football. But before we do that, and we won't be able to go through all these slides because we're trying to condense this down a 50 or 60 minute interaction that we would do with students over video or in person on a field trip, and break this down to maybe 15, 20 minutes, something like that, for you guys to watch as a video. And so one of the things we'd always talk about, we have a more than a game video that we show. We'll skip over that, but our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and celebrate excellence everywhere. Our vision is not just the past, it's the future. It's not just Canton, it's the world. It's not just a great museum for football, it's a message of excellence everywhere. Our values are commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. And so, again, one of these most popular programs that we offer now is a program called Movement and Motion. And so if I were to ask students, name some science terms that they've learned in class that might apply to football, we get all kinds of stuff. And we do this program and with third graders all the way up to even high school students that we do this. And so obviously we get students say speed or acceleration or deceleration or aerodynamics or drag or force or movement or motion or Newton's laws of motion, those kind of things. And so, and certainly those all be correct. And we're going to look at the big three, what we're referred to as today is these big three: movement, motion, and force. And so there's many ways that science can relate to football, and we can look at those. But the big ones are, the first one is movement. And it's an act of changing physical location or position or having this change. Movement is changing original location. Now, I won't go through this whole video, but just kind of give you a snippet of it, of a movement that's pretty exciting. Now, if you're there at home or at school, you can stand up and sit down. That's a movement. But in the NFL, there's some pretty exciting movements that take place. Many of you may have heard of the flip, not the whip, but the flip. And this happened in the NFL with Jerome Simpson.
In NFL folklore, there's the catch, the drive, and this season, a new phrase was created, courtesy of the Cincinnati Bengals' Jerome Simpson, the flip. And it's our top play of the year. Simpson approaches 6'2" Arizona defender Darrell Washington, he converts his linear velocity into angular velocity and pushes down with roughly 650 pounds of force. This propels his center of mass more than 6.5 feet in the air.
And so you can see 600, we look at linear velocity, angular velocity, those kind of things. But you really look at it as just the force that he pushed off. And so if you want to see what that's like, go stand to something, mark something on the wall, or stand next to a parent that might not even be 6'2", and look at him and say, how in the world did he jump over him? Not only did he jump over him, he did a flip over him. So there's some crazy movements that take place because of just how athletic and skilled and how strong they are, how powerful the legs are. 650 pounds of force. That's a lot of force to get him up and over a 6'2" defender. Now, the next concept that we're going to look at is motion. And it's an action or process of moving or being moved. Motion is the act of moving yourself or someone moving you. Remember, an object at rest wants to stay at rest, and an object in motion wants to stay in motion unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. So we see Newton's first law of motion play out every day, every second in a football game. And especially that last part, an object in motion wants to stay in motion. If the ball's handed off to the running back, are they an object in motion? And most certainly they are. And they want to stay in motion until they score a touchdown, obviously. But there's something, an unbalanced force that wants to stop that running back from scoring, and that's the defense. And then what you look at is when that defense collides with the object in motion wants to stay in motion, that resistance to that running back resisting to wanting to go down from that unbalanced force is what we refer to as inertia. And so let's look at some of this here in this video.
Whether it's a running back breaking through the secondary or a wide receiver on a foot race for the end zone, most defensive players in the NFL have a single goal in mind: to get downfield as far and as fast as possible.
We're thinking, wow, I've got to get from A to B within a certain time frame, and I can't let this guy throw me off track. So it's kind of like a chess match at that point in time. It's the battle to see who's the toughest.
Defenders, on the other hand, have a different goal: to stand in the way of the offensive player and stop his forward progress.
When you're coming in and making that tackle, you've got to come in and you've got to stop him right there on the dime.
Who wins this epic battle between the ball carrier and the defender? Newton's first law of motion helps supply some answers.
Newton's first law says that if an object is at rest, it requires an unbalanced force to make it not be at rest. Or similarly, if an object is in motion, it tends to stay in motion in a straight line at a constant velocity unless an unbalanced force acts on it.
In football, we see unbalanced forces whenever one player exerts a force on another and causes him to change his direction and/or speed.
So imagine that a quarterback is just taking a snap from the center, and a lineman gets free from the opposing team that's coming from the other side, and when they collide, you could see an unbalanced force acting on the quarterback, driving him across the field in the direction of the charging lineman. That's about as unbalanced as it gets.
In physics, a player's natural resistance to that unbalanced force is something called inertia.
On the football field, you can think about inertia as being a running back who's already in motion, doesn't want to change the fact that it's already in motion. So it's going to take some external unbalanced force, i.e. a defensive player, to stop that running back.
Okay, all right, so we can look at force. Force is the strength or attribute, or energy as an attribute of physical action or movement. Force is how well you can move something. So we're going to look at two players, Juju Smith-Schuster versus J.J. Watt. Obviously, we look at their sizes, 6'1", 215 versus 6'5", 295. Who's going to have more force? Obviously, J.J. Watt will make an attack or blocking. Now, running or juking could be different. So again, we have no way of testing this, but as students, you can have a hypothesis. My hypothesis, which is basically a guess, an educated guess, would be that Juju Smith-Schuster would probably plant off the ground with more force because he can cut so quickly. He can decelerate quicker than J.J. Watt can. The same thing that made J.J. Watt a great tackler or a blocker is the same thing that would hinder him a little bit when running or juking. And so that would be my guess. And so there's that. Now, we can move on. And what we can see now is the different types of these and of directions of movements and different types of force when we talk about push-pull. Now, I always use this as my kids. I've got an 8 and 11-year-old, two boys, and we play outside all the time. And we play tag in the backyard. So whether it's on the football field you see these, or whether let's think about it in tag in the backyard, is that you would use a lot of different ways to get away from someone, a lot of different movements to get away from someone if they were trying to tag you. One of the first ways is we know the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So if you're playing tag with a base maybe, and you want to get to that base as quickly as possible, the best way to do that typically is just a straight line right to it. And so we see a lot of different examples of straight lines. We see obviously straight lines, which are straight lines. We see goalposts, which are straight lines. But what we also see is movements that are straight lines like this, or straight line speed like the 40-yard dash. We're going to look at two examples of 40-yard dash. One is John Ross, who ran the fastest 40-yard dash in NFL Combine history, and then Rich Eisen, who was very slow, but he's not in the NFL. He's a commentator, but he raises money from doing this as well.
DC just told me, John said he's going to run 4.2. That's what he told me.
There he goes.
He's moving.
Where'd our number go?
I don't know.
We got that number for you. He's limping?
He's limping.
4.22.
No way.
So according to what we just...
4.22, and he limped. That's why.
All right, let's look at Rich Eisen.
Be relaxed. Just let it fly, man. Don't think. Just react. Pretend someone's going to hit you on the butt with a paddle. Fly out her.
Okay, now if we look at both of those, we can say they both ran a straight line. So they're both similar. Now there's a lot of differences because of athleticism and skill and power and age and clothing. I mean, obviously if you're gonna run the 40-yard dash, you probably don't want to wear a suit, although he was wearing gold shoes, which is my 8-year-old would probably say is it makes you run faster if you have gold shoes. But you can see that they both ran a straight line. All right, we look at zigzag, another movement. Zigzag, if you're juking somebody, a juke. We can see two of the best jukers here, Barry Sanders.
A man of few words, Barry Sanders' play spoke volumes. A Heisman Trophy winner out of Oklahoma State, Sanders was selected 3rd overall by the Detroit Lions in the 1989 draft. His impact was immediate.
The F-back is the Heisman Trophy winner, and he gets the call. Kept it back, reverses field, 25, 20, he's to the 15, he's to the 10-yard line. Barry Sanders, on his first NFL carry, goes 19 yards.
During a career that would span 10 years, number 20 became the most prolific runner of his era, amassing 15,269 rushing yards, a total that at the time of his retirement was 2nd on the NFL's all-time list. Selected to 10 Pro Bowls, Sanders was 4 times the NFL's rushing champion. He was the first player to run for over 1,000 yards in each of his first 10 seasons, and is the only NFL running back to produce 4 consecutive 1,500-yard seasons.
All right, let's look at another great zigzagger, a guy by the name of Dante Hall, who's referred to as a human joystick because he's like playing a video game.
Rocky Mountain Thunder, and then the throw underneath the Hall. Boy, look at him, like a cat. Now it's in the clear. Oh no, Teddy Davis! What a brilliant play again!
Backing up to the 8-yard line. Dancing. Middlebrooks can't get him. Now he's back inside the 5, but finds a seam. He's gone.
Finds the lane up the middle. Hall may go. He is gone. Dante Hall.
Okay, all right, so we'll look at circular. So we saw some circular there. We saw a spin move, as you can see. Running backs do a spin move. You saw Barry Sanders use it. You also saw Dante Hall use that. But a lot of people don't realize there's some defenders that use it as well. And one of the very best ever at the spin move was a guy by the name of Dwight Freeney. Let's look at the science behind that spin move.
Dwight Freeney is one of the most dominant pass rushers in the NFL, totaling an average of about 10.5 sacks per season. We're going to analyze one of his most effective pass rushing maneuvers, the spin move. Now, one of the moves that you're best known for is the spin move.
Yep.
How have you perfected that?
I just keep on doing it. I mean, I basically wake out of the bed spinning into the bathroom. It is what it is. It's just kind of something I've always done.
We want to measure how quickly you can spin.
Let's go.
You ready to do this?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Here's a breakdown of a Dwight Freeney spin move. Freeney sets up his spin move by planting his left foot at a 90-degree angle. This opens his hips to the middle of the field and creates the leverage he'll need to spin.
Most people see on the top your hands swinging and all of that. But everything starts from your legs, and leverage and power, everything is generated from down low. So you have to really drive into the ground.
Freeney then does 2 things that are counterintuitive. He leaves his feet and turns his back on his opponent. While airborne for 0.3 of a second, Freeney smartly pulls his right arm in closer to his body.
The outside of your hand is very important because that kind of brings you around.
This propels him to a peak angular velocity of almost 500 degrees per second. Given his relative mass, Freeney spins about as fast as an Olympic figure skater doing a double toe loop. A 270-pound body spinning that fast makes it difficult for a lineman to keep Freeney in front of him. And once he gets separation, it's a foot race to the quarterback. Freeney accelerates to 90% of his top speed, covering about 7 yards in 1 second. And to find out how much force a Dwight Freeney open shot generates on a quarterback, we had him hit someone for real. Freeney delivers a massive hit of 2,800 pounds of force. That's like getting punched by Mike Tyson and George Foreman in their prime at the same time.
Oh my God. He knocked me out of my shoe.
Okay, and you can see he actually hit him so hard he knocked him out of his shoe. Now we see back and forth. We saw back and forth a lot with the running backs jumping back and forth, Barry Sanders and Dante Hall, where they run up to a player, kind of back up and then go around them. But there's some other examples of back and forth in the NFL. And one of those is a play called the flea flicker, where the ball's passed back and forth.
Sebastian Vollmer is just an incredibly big man, and 6'7". Bill Belichick says long arms, so if he gets those arms on you, you're not going to get to the quarterback.
Back to Brady. Brady looking for Moss. Touchdown, Patriots.
And another one.
Ferrier was coming in on Brady. This is not. That's a lateral going back to Brady. Now Brady wanting to go long. Gaffney's waiting for it. Gaffney is in for the touchdown right over Anthony Smith. What a
Okay, so now we see when we talk about force, we talk about push, we talk about pull. Now there's one position in the NFL where their job is primarily just to push. 99% of their time is to push. Now sometimes there might be a hold or something like that, which might be a little bit of a pull, but typically they're pushing. And so if we look at Michael Thomas, who's arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right now, versus Will Shields, who's one of our Hall of Famers from the Kansas City Chiefs, 6'3", 212. Versus 6'3", 320, we know who's going to be better at blocking because of his mass and his size, and he's got the body type and the strength for that position. So let's look at Will Shields.
As a 14-year fixture on the Kansas City offensive line, Will Shields started 223 of 224 games, pushing the Chiefs to lead the league in total yardage gained in both 2004 and 2005. Shields was a key member of the Chiefs' offense, unlocking 4 division titles and 6 playoff appearances, earning him 12 consecutive trips to the Pro Bowl.
All right, and so if I ask you guys what are some examples of pull, probably some of you would say tackling or pulling the ball in, or the quarterback pulling the ball back when they receive the snap from the center, but some of them are not always legal. For example, holding penalty. Whether it's the offensive lineman or if it's a defensive back that might hold, or we can get even more severe here, a face mask penalty. You can see why, as pulling that helmet backwards can be pretty dangerous. And so in a nutshell, that's really what we wanted to share with you guys here today. I'm going to stop sharing and just close things out. I think it would be so cool as young people, if you're sitting at home when football starts again in this August, maybe with the Hall of Fame game and the first week in August, is the first full week in August is sitting at home with your parents watching that game, Cowboys versus the Steelers, or during the regular season or something, whenever, watching football, college, high school, whatever it might be, when you're sitting there, watch on TV and just sit there and just stare at the screen, and in about the second quarter, just kind of say, man, that was a great example of Newton's first law of motion. And then don't look at your parents, just keep looking straight ahead at the TV. And I can tell you as a parent, if I saw my kids say, if I heard my kids say that, I'd probably look around and, what in the world did you just say? And then probably my second thought would be, man, your teacher's doing a great job in the classroom. So this is our movement and motion program. If you guys have any questions, any follow-up, or want to connect with us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you can email us at education@profootballhof.com. Take care and God bless.